What's up, you guys?
You have such a formal, this angle is a little too formal right now, Paige.
I guess just, we mentioned what I've been doing with puppies, so business plan wise.
Yes.
I've had a lot of ideas and a lot of things I've been doing and experimenting with, and what we talked about was kind of taking the puppy, going through just the structure of like how to coexist with a puppy in your life.
Sure.
Training, potty training. You know, we're not looking for like fancy sits and spins and paw and all that.
Yep.
Just the actual puppy schedule, me doing that for whether it's 2 months or, you know, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Giving the dog back to the owner, giving them some homework, a couple things they can really focus on, and then coming back and doing that more training commands.
Yeah.
Getting the training, getting the e-collar going.
Yes.
And then essentially private lesson support after that.
Sure, yeah.
Is that like,
Yeah, I mean,
does it sound like a good structure?
There's a million ways you could spin it, right? You just got to ask yourself, like, what ultimately is the service you're selling, right? And then you could look at how do we create that, you know what I mean? And if we're saying the service we're selling is like a fully trained dog from puppy to done, right? From puppy to adult, then yeah, you would have to break it up where, you know, you do the puppy stuff and then you do the training stuff and then you do the owner education, right? Because like all three of those components are kind of essential if we're saying that's the service that we're providing, right? If the service we're saying we're providing is just the puppy kickstart where it's like, hey, you know, let's start off on the right foot, socialize the dog, you know, whatever, crate train the dog, house break the dog, stuff like that. But like, it's just a kickstart. It's not like the complete works. You know what I mean?
So offering maybe like what you guys kind of do. Like we've got like 2 options.
To be clear, the services we offer are not different goals. There are 2 options to achieve the same goal. So let's say your end goal that you had was the works, right? You want to have the dog totally trained from puppy to adult. You could offer 2 types of ways to get to that goal. You get what I'm saying? Like that's like what we offer, right? Is like the board and train option and the one-on-one option, and yours can be similarly structured where it's like you have the boarding option where the dog stays with you for a month and then stays with you for another month and then you do the owner education, or you have the owner come once a week during that month or whatever, however you structure it out, or you could have the coaching option where it's like you just walk them through things and you do some lessons with them when the dog is a puppy and then some lessons with the dog once the dog is a little bit older, right? But they're both designed to kind of achieve the same goals. That's one way you could do it. You could offer different tiers to things. My way that I view services, and I think, at least from the dog training standpoint, is I hate the a la carte approach to things because if I'm gonna put my name on something, I wanna know I've put it in the best possible position to succeed. And if I'm saying I'm just doing the kickstarts, the problem with that is you know for a fact that you're gonna do that kickstart and some of those dogs are gonna go on to do training and then, you know, wind up wonderful. And some of them are gonna do the kickstart and then they're gonna go into the house and the owners just the dog's gonna become a fucking terror, right?
Yeah, and then your name is kind of on
and then your name's attached to it.
I know, yeah.
Right?
The struggle is like, if you're gonna attach your name to something, how do you minimize that risk? You know,
100%. Because it's no different than with us. Like we do it where it's like, hey, we're gonna train the dog. We're gonna train the dog, and there are still absolutely dogs out there that we've trained that are like a hot mess, I'm sure, right? But we've at least, you know, we've given it the all, you know what I mean? And we've given the owner and the dog all of the skills where they should have been able to succeed with all of that information. Where with the kickstart, we know that the owner does not have all of the information that they would need in order to succeed long-term with that dog at that point. They will need further information later on. And I think sometimes it can be helpful to offer tiers early on in your you know, business plan, because it's like it caters to more people so you can get more clientele in and then you can kind of upsell them as you go, you know what I mean? So like there's benefit to it.
Yeah, because they kind of start getting
Yeah.
more engaged, more
Yeah.
excited, more willing to kind of like.
Because if you look at the price plan, it's like, okay, well, the works might cost $5,000, but I might be able to do the reboot for $2,000, right, or $1,500 or something like that. And initially for a new client that doesn't really know you yet, like that's a big investment, but this is not as much of a big investment, so you can get them started with that. And then when you kind of prove yourself to them, you could kind of upsell them. We really should do the rest of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah. I think hearing that too, I've definitely been experimenting with like a little bit of each, and I find that I had the most success, and I kind of landed on just continuing essentially continuing the process. And I kind of did do like almost the a la carte thing too, where it just kind of kept getting sandwiched together because they're happy.
Sure.
They're happy with the results, and they're just like, can we keep doing stuff? Which is great. So I have those kind of people that I think can refer as well. Maybe just doing like a package based on that. Yeah,
and you could start with one and then move to the other. Like I said, I distinctly remember when we used to offer tiered lesson packages. I remember we offered a 4-session, a 7-session, and a 10-session.
Yeah.
And we used to get a lot of people that would sign up for the 4 and the 7, and then a decent amount that would sign up for the 10. And then I remember we removed the 4, and then we would get a lot of people for the 7 and a few for the 10. And then I remember I said, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm just going to eliminate the 7-session program.
Yeah.
And what wound up happening is we got just as much business, because it's like when you go to the movie theater and there's 3 soda options, and it's like, maybe I'll get the middle one. You know what I mean?
Choice thing of like, give them like.
Well, so the thing they always say with like the soda or the popcorn sizes is whichever one you want to sell. So like, let's say you want to sell the large option, right?
Yeah.
Basically what you want to do is you want to price your medium one really close to the large, because nobody wants the worst option, but if it's close enough in price to the large, it's justifiable to spend the extra to get to that, right? Where if you want to sell a lot of the medium one, you price it close to the small, because same deal, nobody really wants the lowest. And it makes the medium seem like it's the best bang for your buck, right? To just kind of go to that. But the jump from that to the large is kind of substantial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just kind of ask yourself, like, which program do you want to sell the most of at that point? And that's where you price the middle one determines that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. And I also feel good about, there's always been this icky part of marketing to me that I don't like, and don't want to trick people into, but when I feel like what I'm offering is beneficial, I know it's helpful, I know I can see you through to a good point. I'm happy with just kind of knowing those things and kind of scooting people towards that kind of stuff.
The only time marketing is ever icky and scummy and stuff like that is if you're selling a product that isn't actually going to help the person.
Yeah.
Right? But
you're selling your soul.
Me upselling a client to a certain program, that's because I know that program is going to be better for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're actually putting yourself behind
it's it's going to cost more, but it's actually going to impact and benefit your life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't feel bad at all about marketing plans or doing advertisement and stuff like that for that reason. It's I want to sell people on my services because I know it's going to help them.
Puppy transport.
Yes.
In general.
So we're talking offering
service.
Transporting puppies as an additional service. So this is not even dogs you would be working with, but you're offering the service of transporting dogs for breeders. Correct. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I could see that tying into puppies I'm training. So what I see is I've brought this person the puppy, and I'm also a trainer, so that I feel makes they might send their puppy to me.
I understand what you're saying. I mean? There's a couple ways to look at this, right? So way number one is early on in things, you got to kind of grind it out and do what you got to do to make connections and grow your name and grow your business, right? So early on, it's you could offer whatever the fuck you want to offer, because you're making connections, early on when I first started my first dog training company, we offered boarding and daycare as an independent service. So you didn't have to be a training client to board or do daycare with us. And what happened is some of those clients would turn into training clients because they knew we were trainers, and because they were already coming to us, we were a reasonable place to get their dog trained then at that point, and then we could prove ourselves as really good trainers to them.
Yeah.
The issue is as you start getting bigger, right, and you start getting a little bit more known, you're splitting things and you're tarnishing your brand a little bit by saying, at least in the case of me, right, at least in the case of me, we were kind of tarnishing our brand a little bit because we were having 50% of our dogs in our facility be trained, well-mannered, structured, really good looking and stuff like that, and then 50% of the dogs were absolute fucking psychopaths, right? And we would have clients that were coming in that were hiring us exclusively for training and see these dogs and be like,
look bad.
Yeah, they'd be like, this dog is terrible, and this dog's coming to, Time Heights Canine or whatever. It's like, what, like, God, like kind of, it creates this weird picture for your brand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, the other side of things that we ran into is because we were a training company and, we offered those services, I always viewed training as the most important service that we were offering. So I would have clients where it's like, sending a dog home from daycare that didn't do training with us, I would start trying to do a little training, make them wait at the doorways, this, that. And I would have clients that would get pissed at me for doing that. For training the dog. Same conversation as we were just having about the crating stuff, where like some people view like, oh, why would you make the dog sit and wait at a doorway as criminal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, why would you hold them accountable for absolutely anything?
So how that can tie into your case is if you're trying to kind of, you really would have to totally separate it as like, you're not a trainer in that case, you're a puppy transporter, but that's not the image you want to go for. Do you get what I'm saying? Or maybe it is, but like...
It's tied into my end goal, but right now it's just offer these services. I have noticed they kind of inevitably merge. Whether because even as my full-time job painting, that has merged. I'm painting.
Sure.
I'm painting clients' interior homes while training their puppies at the same time.
So it would have to be, that's what I mean though, is it merges from the standpoint of the connections you make, but from a service standpoint, from a business standpoint, it would have to be two totally separate things. You know what I mean? You're doing puppy transporting, and people can know you're also a trainer, but that has nothing to do with the puppy transporting that you're doing.
Selling like if I have a puppy with me that I have in my puppy program, they're gonna see that. They're gonna ask a question. And meanwhile, I'm not glomming onto them and trying to get them.
And here's the other side of the spectrum then is, as you start getting busier, you're going to have to look at what are the services that are making you the most money, right? Like, because you only have so much resources from the standpoint of time, right? So, you might be able to charge $10 an hour to transport a dog or $15 an hour to transport a dog, but you could charge $100 an hour to train a puppy, you know what I mean, or to train a dog. So it's like the more you're offering this service and doing it yourself, the more you could be filling that time with actually training dogs as you get busier. And then I would say the last thing kind of related to all of that is, I listen to a lot of different, business podcasts and this and that. And one common thing that they talk about is you want to offer as few of services as possible, because the fewer services you offer, the more you could specialize and hone all of your kind of knowledge and stuff into that and do it as good as possible. Where the more you offer, the more you start kind of spreading everything a little too thin, at least early on and things, until you have the resources of extra people to be able to do those services. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like that's really what I've struggled, what I need as a person that's a little more anxious and chaotic. I need that structure for myself when I'm offering my clients and offering the puppies. Of I need that structure to say I can depend on these three things, and if I just focus one thing at a time. I have notes and reminders that say one thing, kind of focus on one thing. Right now. What are you doing? Focus on that.
Look at it look at it like when you go to a really nice restaurant, the menu is small. There's not a lot of options.
You mean not Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah. Well, that's the example I was going to give you from the other standpoint,
I
right?
that menu and I'm like,
yeah. But that's just it, is those places specialize in a particular service and they could charge a premium for it, where Cheesecake Factory can't be the greatest Italian restaurant, Mexican restaurant, and fucking steakhouse all at the same time, right? So
don't wait.
They are pretty fucking good though. I will give them credit.
They're solid.
They're pretty good.
You're gonna grandparents coming into town.
Yeah.
I love the cheesecake.
Oh yeah. So my sister, it's her favorite restaurant.
So don't be the Cheesecake Factory of dog training.
No, don't be the Cheesecake Factory of dog training. Is what I'm trying to say.
Like a fine steakhouse.
Yeah, like specialize in one thing and charge a premium for that thing, you know? Because do you want to offer a bunch of things half-assed, or do you want to offer one thing really fucking good where people know like you are the fucking person for this thing, you know?
Yeah.
With the training, I've always tried to like live by this approach of like, I remember when I first started training, I would have people tell me like, oh, well, if you're training your clients' dogs the way you're training your dogs, something is wrong. And if you're training your dogs the way you train your clients' dogs, something is wrong. That was something I heard before, I remember.
My training with my dog is more complex because I enjoy
Yeah, I think that's what they were alluding to when they said it to me, was this idea that, well, as trainers, we should be really taking our time with everything and training in a very particular way, and like almost alluding to like we're treating our dogs like competition dogs and like going through all the stuff in this proper way, whatever, right? Where with clients' dogs, we're just kind of looking for quick fixes and et cetera, is kind of, I think, what they were alluding to with it, right? But I, actually, the more I thought, originally when I thought that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because at the time I was doing like competition dog training with my dogs, and I was like, I wouldn't train my client's dog in this way, right? Yeah. But when I really thought about it, I don't like that statement at all, because, because as a dog trainer, right, I got into training dogs because, and I'm sure most people got into training dogs, sure, because they like training dogs and they like helping people, but because we've got a pretty damn good relationship with our dogs. Yeah. Right? Like that's why, like, I think that my dogs live a really great life. I really enjoy the life that I live with my dogs. I've figured out a way to make it easy for myself to have a good relationship with my dogs, and the way I communicate with them, the way I train them, all those types of things. So why on earth would I try to have my clients do it differently than that?
That makes sense.
Do you understand what I'm saying, right? Because actually, if I'm teaching my clients to do it in a different way than I'm doing it, how do I really know that that is going to nurture and create a good relationship? Because I'm not living that.
Yeah, like you have your own evidence of like what a good life for a dog is.
100%. Right? And I know it. I know it's working.
I don't live this military regimented life with my dog.
Yeah. 100%. So where I think it's cool, and where I think dog training has a little bit of like the flair and the art to it, is everybody lives a different life with their dogs. Right? Like you, I'm sure, live a very different life with your dog than I live with my dogs, right? My trainers, Bridget, Michelle, Seamus, Senny, they live very different lives with their dogs than I live with my dogs. Maybe not dramatically different, but there's different things, you know what I mean? Like different flares, different ways they communicate, different routines they found work for them, right? But ultimately, they figured out routines that work for them in all of these different areas to have a good life with their dog. So they can all kind of give their touch on it, but they're still teaching their clients to work with their dogs in the same way that they would do so.
Yeah, and I think the early trainer in me of just being programmed of everybody needs to do these things. And more, the more I work with people, the more I talk with people, I just want their dogs to be happy. I just want them to be happy.
100%.
And if they don't do things the way that I would do in my home, I'm like, why would I pick at them about it? It's just going to create a bad relationship between us, and then they're just not enjoying things, and they're just like, I'm just telling them that they should be me, and that's not enjoyable.
Yeah, I don't think that they should be you. You should be coaching them through, this is what I found to be successful, and to try, right? Like the crating your dog when you're not home, or the not going to dog first. All these things we suggest. I'm not forcing you to do it. I can't force you to do it, obviously, right? But I could suggest it to help you combat an issue you're having, because I know that has worked for me, right? And if you find that as a client, there's a flair you could put on it, I'm not suggesting they, take everything we say with a grain of salt, obviously, but there's a flair that they could put on it that works really well for them, like, fuck yeah, right? The reason why I say all of this is because as you're creating your puppy program, right, obviously there's puppy basics and stuff that I'm sure you would probably do if you had a dog, and that's how you should be approaching it, right, and coaching your clients through it. But look at also your relationship you have with your adult dog and the things you do, whether it's, how you discipline him or how you reward him or any of those types of things, and don't think, not that I think you're thinking this, but don't think that just because you're working with puppies and offering this like nice building blocks kind of, foundation of a program that, you could like avoid getting into some of those types of things as well. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So look at, that's why I mean
Like,
segment it out.
your
How would
puppy
you raise a
doesn't become an
puppy,
adult dog.
but your puppy becomes an adult, and how do you communicate with your adult dog to make sure that he's well-mannered also?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like, puppy stuff is fun. You can do a lot of positive
Yeah.
reinforcement. That's
Yes.
the beauty of it.
Yes.
But you have to say, preparing them to say no, essentially.
Yeah,
And
just
yeah.
however that is, you know what I mean? However that is for you, that you have found to be successful in your day-to-day with your dogs, you know?
Yeah. Advertising or getting clients or Instagram even. I don't have, like, right now in terms of business, like, I obviously don't have a business name. I'm thinking of things like that, I have an Instagram, but it's like, it's a personal one. It's pretty dog centered, but it's also got like highlight reels of like my dog training. So it's just more casual, and like word of mouth has been my thing with a lot of my clients just on my own, because when I separated from that company, that was very Facebook driven, and I had a lot of stuff on there. So I'm just basically in limbo again, transitioning to like my presence.
Yeah.
I'm not super sure, you know, just have
Yeah.
Instagram, maybe have like a simple website that an Instagram can like send people to, just to give them like the programs, or you know, I don't want to be lazy and not, because it's intimidating to me thinking me have a website.
Yeah.
It's fine to just do, you know, an Instagram, or like, what are kind of your thoughts on?
Yeah. The first thing you need to do is you need to start like garnering attention, right? So whether that's, you say, okay, from today moving forward, my personal Instagram, I'm just gonna make freaking Kylene's Dogs, I'm gonna make my handle, or whatever, you know what I mean, until I figure out what my business name is gonna be. And every day from this point moving forward, I'm just gonna post dog content. You can post personal stuff, I don't care, but you're going to predominantly every day post something dog related, and it doesn't even need to be a puppy. It could be you and Birch working training, right?
Yeah.
You off leash walking them through somewhere, or this or that, and people are like, oh my god, like your dog's really well behaved. Do you train dogs? This, you know what I mean? Like, just start garnering attention and showing people this is what I do, right? I think that you should be relevant on a couple of social media platforms, but like really you don't have to get too crazy with it to start. It's just like, just start posting from your Facebook, because I'm sure you have a Facebook page, maybe not a Facebook business page, but you got a Facebook page. So start posting your dog content on your Facebook page and your Instagram page, and just
Yeah, I've got it linked right now. So
Yeah.
post on Instagram, we'll post to my Facebook.
there you go. And just start doing that, right? And just putting yourself out there as somebody that's knowledgeable about these kinds of things, and commit to just post one thing a day that's dog related.
That's a lot. I'm not
We
a social.
post 4 times
I
a day.
know. I'm not like a social media person. It's tough. I'm
will
very.
Hey guys, it's Bridget with Miracle Canine, and today we thought we'd do a fun little segment. We're recently getting a lot of board and trains in, and I wanted to describe what brought the dog in and how we work toward fixing the owner's goals, or working toward what the owner ultimately wants out of the life of their dog. So Miss Ariel here, our beautiful little golden girl, came into us with some puppy issues that kind of developed into her adulthood. There's sometimes a common misconception that your dogs will eventually outgrow behaviors like jumping, pottying in the house, biting and nipping. And it's really our job to be able to set the dog up for success, so they ultimately know what behaviors we're going to tolerate and which ones we will not. So Miss Ariel had issues with going to the bathroom in the house. Her owners came in and said that she is not potty trained currently, and she had a lot of accidents. So obviously we wanted to primarily focus on getting her on a very good schedule. So something that we'll do for people in that same situation is just come up with a potty list. So all of the staff that runs Ariel, including the training staff, will mark when she has gone to the bathroom and at what time she went to the bathroom. So something like this can start to give you a really good schedule of when your dog is going, and you can kind of prioritize your time around getting them to go to the bathroom. And this has worked absolutely beautifully, and we're happy to report that since Ariel has been with us, she has not had one accident in her crate or in our facility. And really it was just kind of breaking the pattern that she was in the house, going to the bathroom on their carpet. We definitely want to transfer all of these skills that she's learned with starting to schedule and having her owner get on a good schedule with her and helping her thrive, because nobody likes a dog that goes to the bathroom in the house. You know what I mean? You know?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Another good thing that we started doing is we got her feeding schedule. So we are knowing what goes in so we can know what comes out. So an example is just our date, and then we had our staff sign when they had fed her, and generally this was at the same time every day, so we could get on a really consistent schedule for her, and that worked beautifully as well. So I know her owners were very frustrated with that issue that they were dealing with, but we're happy that we were able to work through it, and hopefully as she returns home, we're able to give the owners all the tools necessary to help her continue to be successful in the house. Ariel's owners also reported that they had a really hard time having her around people, and basically had to crate her when people came over because she had a big jumping and nipping problem, and her jumping was described to be so bad that it was just not a fun experience to have her out. So obviously we started to work on telling her no to the jumping and adding a consequence that she cared about. And additionally, just starting to have her be a calmer dog. Here she's on a bed stay right now, and the bed stay will really help settle the dog's mindset in the house, where we're not always doing something, we're not always engaging with the dog. So if we're not in our crate and we have some free time, another option we could do is a bed stay, just so if people come in and out of the door, we have something to hold the dog accountable for, as well as walking her owners through how they'll correct for jumping if that behavior is reoccurring in the house. But she's very easily trained. We didn't have to do a lot of work with her. She caught on pretty quickly once she understood a clear yes and a clear no. And she's been a great dog since. Prior to Ariel's training, her owners also mentioned that she was not crate trained and that they did not use the crate. So when they were describing her potty issues, it was all made sense, because you cannot have good potty training and leave your dog out. The two just don't correlate. So we have to utilize crate training since we can't always be watching our dogs. The crate allows us to have some structure in our lives with our dogs and offer a spot for them to go when we can't watch them, because we're not perfect. We can't watch our dogs 24/7, and don't let anybody tell you that the crate is abusive or mean, because it is a beautiful spot for your dog to learn some beautiful habits. Right, Ariel? Yeah.
I actually think I need that.
Yeah.
Something like that a couple of months ago would have made Ariel very excited, and we have made a point to really work her through things that could be very triggering for her, other dogs. So we've made a point to really work Ariel through a lot of distractions, because a lot of this is going to be how she reacts to the outside world, because we can't always curate a calm environment. So it's important that we work with our dogs as they're growing into adults and reaching maturity, that we're doing a lot of work around distractions and other dogs and not having to be a part of it, right? Heck yeah, brother. Another issue that their owners described, it was very hard to walk Ariel because of her pulling and all of her excitement. Again, this is a dog that meant no harm with what she was doing, but some of the over-eagerness, over-excitedness made it really hard to do daily things with her that could benefit her, like taking her on walks, taking her to parks. So we're gonna go ahead and show you the progress she's made on her walk. A lot of people mistake this really hyper active behavior as being happy, and Goldens are known for being very happy, playful dogs. And our mission is to never crush who a dog is, but it's to help better the life of the dog and the owner. So we had to have Ariel be able to maintain a heel position and still maintain looking at like a happy girl, enjoying her walks. And a lot of people, you know, they say walks are supposed to be all about sniffing. And while I do think that adding sniffing and free time to your walks is essential, I also think it's really good to have your dog focus on being able to stick in a heel. A lot of people wonder when the sniffing is going to happen, and having a dog sniff and lead the walk the entire time can show them that they're really in control. So we opt in for giving them sniff time, like when we reach the park, I'm going to give her a couple of moments to sniff around, do her business, and then I can add more sniffing if I'd like to into her walk. But it's also good to have the dog be able to focus on the heel position and getting some cardio, some exercise, without having to stop every 5 seconds to pee on a pole or pick something off the ground, which Miss was a huge component of, huh? Ariel, sit. Now we're sitting here with Ariel. No petting. So, Miss Ariel has come leaps and bounds from where she started, and I truly believe that Ariel and her owners are going to have a far more enjoyable life due to just getting some things under control. So, it goes to show you, don't waste a minute of your dog's life getting frustrated with them, resenting them, when you could offer them some training and really have the dog that you love and that you want.
We ever had to take that much of Cujo's off. Just they have so much neck.
Yeah, I know, he grew into that. Like, his neck is huge. His whole head.
I haven't had to change her collar at all, but that's fine.
She said, I gotta go. I'm gonna figure out the lowest level that she feels this.
Probably 50.
She might.
She's a wuss at the vet. Like
She might surprise us.
every shot is like. You would think that was killing her. Okay.
She said, excuse me. It was about an 18. That was 14. So you can usually go down once they know what they're looking. That was a 10. Okay. Hi, do I have your attention? She said yes. All right, so we're going to all sync up the speaker so you can hear the timing of when I'm hitting the button. The speaker has nothing to do with her. It's just for you to hear what I'm doing.
That's new.
Yeah, I don't think we had this when Cujo did training. So like, that's me hitting the button. So you'll be able to tell when I'm using it. We're gonna say our verbal cue of come. And then after I give the verbal cue, if she turns and she walks towards me, I'll mark good and I'll give her a reward. If she doesn't, I'm gonna hold my button and guide with leash pressure at the same time so that we're getting the pressure from the e-collar and the leash to guide her in the right direction. And as soon as she's turned around and disengaged and walking towards me is then when I'll mark and tell her good at that point. Lilith, come. Good, very nice. So there I didn't do anything because she turned and she walked towards me on her own. Oh, are you hungry? Nice job. Okay, we'll walk her away so she gets distracted. Lilith, come. Good, good job. Okay. Lilith, come. Good. Okay. Lilith, come. Good, very nice. Okay. Come. Good. You can see as I'm saying my come, I can also be doing a little bit of like a walk backwards. It's nice to be able to be facing towards her when you're doing this because that creates that connection. Whereas if I have my back to her the whole time, it's going to be really hard for her to be engaged. She wanders off. Lilith, come. Good. Very nice. Okay. And again, our okay will basically release her from the obligation of being close to me in that moment. Lilith, come. Good. So as soon as I see her commitment to coming to me, that's when that pressure is going away. She doesn't have to get all the way here. She's just got to be like on her way. Come. Good. Very nice. Okay. Obviously, this is building what will eventually be your leash walking. It'll build your recall eventually. Also just basically builds the focus and the engagement that you're losing when she's out there like, what is that? Lilith, come. Good, very nice. Good. And so there, she's walking away before I'm able to release her. So I'm just bringing her back. Good. Just using leash and e-collar at that point.
Off-leash woods walk.
Oh, yeah.
Run into anybody.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't have you not do that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Cujo gets pretty free, and she's like, let me go. And
Right.
I'm like, no, because I don't think you'll come back.
Exactly. Do you have like a long line for her in the meantime?
I do.
You can let her do that. She can explore on the long line, that's okay.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that with young dogs, I'm less concerned about them learning a recall quickly and more about just making sure that until they have a solid recall, we're avoiding potentially creating bad habits because of that. You know what I mean? So like, as long as she's never in a position where she's off leash and like fully off leash and you're trying to recall her and she can give you the middle finger and be like, no, I'm not doing it, and get away with that, then I wouldn't worry too much about her not having the knowledge base of it. So as long as you've got a long line on her, you've got some type of tether, then you can specialize and localize using the word come to specifically when you're doing this drill. So that when we're saying the word come, you know it's gonna be effective, we're gonna follow through on it, we're gonna make it mean something, and then everything else just manage with the leash from now on. Lilith, come. Good. Okay. Lilith, come. Good. Very nice. Okay.
Lilith, come. Good.
Very nice. And remember, if you have to engage the button and the leash on this one, you don't have to say the word no right now. Yeah, so it's basically, because essentially what we're doing with the e-collar is that we're using it more as like negative reinforcement with the leash rather than like the positive punishment that we're using it with Cujo. You know what I mean? Because Cujo knows all of these things. So if he doesn't listen to come, it's just a correction, a no and a correction. Whereas with her, we're pretending she has no idea what this means. So essentially we're taking the word come and then we're using the e-collar pressure in the leash to show her what the behavior is that we're expecting. So we're not correcting her because she's not really we're not correcting her in the sense that like we're saying you did it wrong.
Yeah.
We're using that as a corrective measure to say this is how to do it right.
Lilith, come.
Very good. So there you can press your leash was fine. Yeah, your leash was fine. That was perfect response with the leash pressure. You can also just hold your button.
Hold the button.
At the same time.
That's another thing. Hitting the button is I'm giving a correction.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
like,
So there you go. And then you can let it go.
no, she doesn't get a treat now. Is she getting a treat?
She can, yep, she can. The only time that we wouldn't give food is after positive punishment. So like if Cujo gets a correction, he doesn't get food.
Right.
But she can get food right now because again, we're learning. So this is more negative reinforcement than, we're using 2 forms of reinforcement right now. Negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement. So the negative reinforcement is we're applying pressure and then we're removing pressure, the negative part of it, to reinforce the likelihood that she's gonna listen to you more when you ask her to, right? And then the positive reinforcement is we're giving her something, we're positive, we're adding to, with the food to increase the likelihood she's gonna do the behavior again as well. So we're using both forms of reinforcement. Once we get to where this is like a known command and a known behavior, that's when it switches over to positive punishment. And if you're using punishment for something, you're never gonna follow it up with a reward afterwards. Yeah, so that's the difference.
So if she comes and we're like, let's say right now she starts
Walking away.
wandering. I'm not saying no. I'm pulling her back. Am I re-giving the command?
You're not gonna repeat the command either. You're just gonna enforce it basically. Because essentially when we say it that first time, she's being held to it until she hears the okay. The only difference is that we're just showing her what that means rather than correcting her for it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, because right now with Cujo, with the,
It would just be a correction.
right.
Yes, yeah. And that's where a lot of clients that I have that trained one dog, especially with Cujo, as old as he is now and how long he's been like trained, completed his training, it's hard to then transition back to like a dog who doesn't know anything and the like beginning stages of teaching them everything. It's easy to just be like, come on Lilith, you should know this already. They're so used to it.
And I make that mistake, but everyone else in my house like really makes it. That's like, you can't, she doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yes, she has no idea. Sucking her in with like the body language there too. Go ahead, bring her back over here where she was. Just have her walk a little bit more forward. Yeah. There you go. Let her check it out again. Perfect. Just let her hang out there. Don't even recall her away quite yet. Because when he barked and he had that big noise, she got spooked and she flew over here. So letting her recover from that and be like, feeling a little brave, let me go over there and look, is totally fine. So that way she can learn that like the big noises aren't that scary. Very good. You can see if she'll take some food from you now, if she's interested. She said, no thanks. You force feed her. She said, well, now I have to take it. It's in my mouth.
I wondered if she'd spit it out.
Right. Well, and those are good moments of like, when you're training a puppy who's like very impressionable and everything is like so much more important at this age. When you're doing a drill, if stuff like that happens, like a big truck drives by and backfires, or like the neighbor dog comes out of nowhere and barks at her, whatever it is, it's okay to break the rules on like, even if you were in the middle of doing something, deviating and addressing what's happening in the moment, because her recovering from getting spooked by something is far more important on the scale of what we need to address than finishing a command.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So taking those moments to be like, okay, now, that truck just drove by, you got a little scared, let's just run around the yard and get you all excited again, and let's like lighten the mood, or, like we did, let her walk back over, see the big dog. Now she's a lot more comfortable, relaxed, not too worried about it. So if those things do happen, immediately prioritize that over like, we have to finish this repetition or whatever it might be.
For the okays, if I have them both together, And I want one to come and I don't want the other to come.
Yeah.
Do I preface the okay with the name?
You can. So the way I do it with having multiple dogs is if I only care about one of them doing something, I say their name first, then I ask them to do the command. And if any of my other dogs do it, I just completely ignore them. Yeah, so they know that
Which is what
wasn't required.
Kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, like, if like I really needed Cujo to stay where I had him.
I don't, if them being able to like, one of them hold a stationary command while you recall the other of them, if that is really important to you, we can definitely address that and do it. In like a realistic setting of like having pets, I've never encountered a situation where it was necessary. You know what I mean? That one is able to do one command while the other one's able to do another command. But like I said, it's something that we can do and we can address if it's important to you.
I was outside working with her, which I normally do. Me and her.
Yeah.
But I threw in like an extra after dinner.
Okay.
After I had them both out together. And so Cujo will normally just chill, like in the grass or something while me and her are doing our thing.
Yeah.
Well, he followed along and he wasn't being like a problem, he was just around.
Yeah.
For her, I'm like, well, it's a good distraction. He's
Yeah.
just kind of in the area.
Yeah.
And I told her bed. And she got on the bed.
Yeah.
And then he got on the bed. And I ignored the fact that he did.
Yes, yeah.
And then I gave her the okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to just stay there. Like, okay, now you're gonna leave him
Sure,
alone, so
sure.
stay there.
Yeah.
But I said okay.
So then he gets off.
Yeah, they both get off the bed. And it's not a huge
Yes,
deal.
yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It's a little annoying.
How do I make
So you definitely could work on we could work on him holding a bed stay while you're working with her and stuff like that, especially the level of training that he has. It's pretty easy.
He will.
Yeah.
It like, I told him no.
Yeah.
On the bed, and then he got back on the bed.
Okay.
But it was just the when I release
Sure.
meaning only her, not
Yes.
him.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't really tell you. No, I meant Lilith.
Yes.
Not you.
Yeah, and that's where, like you said earlier, putting the name in front is what I would usually do. So, like with my dogs, they all have the same release word, which is just break. But if I say I'm like releasing them one at a time to go out my back door,
Yes, that's another
I'll say like Snoop, break, Lumos, break, Cash, break, whatever, and they know to wait. And if they don't, then they just get corrected if they go when the other dog was told.
Okay.
So how you addressed it, if you're wanting him to be able to follow commands while you're giving her commands, is how you would address it. A lot of that will be time. Yeah, a lot of it will be getting, like as you're teaching her and your attention really has to be like on her because of all the mechanics and the nuances and all the stuff we're doing, then I would either just put Cujo away somewhere or be 100% positive that he can do a bed stay or something if it's gonna distract you. But if it's gonna distract you too much to like work on that with him and then try to work on it with her, you want her to be a little bit more proficient in her training before you start like doing all of that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I normally am with her by herself, but it was just like, it was nice out, and I'm like, oh,
Yes.
we could work a little bit of this in here.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
now Cujo wants to do it.
Yeah, and I also too, like there's been times where, because I'm trying to think about like when I was training my youngest dog, my shepherd is always like, anytime anything's happening, he's like, this must be about me. So he's like always in the middle of it. And for him, I just did a lot of like, just like go away. And it was a lot of just like body language and, you know, just kind of shooing him away. And he eventually figured out that like, I'm not allowed to be here.
Yeah. Lilith, come.
Ooh, that was a good one. That's good. All right, we'll end on that one. She looks exhausted.
So we're gonna just get him to kind of put his paws on and off some objects that may be a little bit unfamiliar to him. We're gonna do a couple different textures. I kind of want to gauge how he responds to having something like new introduced. So I can't imagine that you've done any fit paws with him.
What is that?
It's kind of like some dog exercise equipment. So it helps create balance and confidence with instability. So it's just kind of something odd textured that they step on, and it gauges whether they have the kind of personality that's like, sweet, I love new things, or the kind of personality where they're faced with something new and they're like, this is terrifying, I hate it. So obviously he's a pretty confident little puppy. So we're gonna start really simply with just seeing if we can get him to get one paw up on this little blue thing. Yes, good job.
Yeah, he had shots yesterday, and that back there took nail clipping.
Yeah,
He yelped at the nail clipping.
okay. We'll certainly do some of that nail, like, trimming in our sessions. Come here, pups. Bowie. Yes, good job. And doing things like this is excellent for the puppy's development. Yes. Where we can create a really secure and confident dog. Yes. And then he gave me the second paw up there, so I marked with yes again. Come here, pup. And you know, you were just a tiny little thing last time I saw you. Not quite. I want to be careful not to drag him up here. I kind of want it to be his own, yes, volition. Come on. Good job. That one was really chewy, huh? Bowie. Good. Do you think he knows his name pretty well? Do you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I say it a lot.
Yeah. Bowie, come here. Yes, good job. And you said he's primarily still getting along well with your other dog in the house.
The first week or two,
Come here, puppy.
the other 4-year-old irritated at times.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to play a lot.
Yes, good job. Okay.
Go chase and vice versa.
Yeah. You got a lot of good habits, buddy. And I'm just using a little bit of food to get him. Yes, good job. Good job. And you can see the surface is slightly uneven, so he's having to maneuver his paws in a certain way. And with some dogs, that kind of stuff can be extremely scary. So it's nice to see how confident he is already. Yes, good job. Bowie. Yes. Good job. And you did it okay at the vet yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Bowie. Yes. Good job. We're going to try to do a little bit harder here. Yes. Good. Yes. You know, you already got one in your mouth.
Took the stairs for a while too.
Yeah.
Weeks ago, my other dogs would be
Come on, pup. Bowie.
scared to go down.
Yes.
And he just had no problem going up and down the flew the stairs.
Yeah. Good. It seems like a pretty confident breed.
Mm-hmm. It's the only breed I've had.
Yes.
That they were,
Yes, good job. Bowie. Yes. Yes. think it's important at this age to also start offering some environmental socialization. So getting them out into public and having them be able to have a neutral, yes, experience. So meaning that we don't want a lot of hyper arousal. So at this stage, we try our best not to have everybody and their mother come up and say hi and pet the puppy. So in turn, as he develops, he's not thinking that the world is there for him, and then you have a really hard time maintaining focus. And it's also important that he doesn't think the world is too scary. Bowie. Yes. Yes, good job. So you start to see when he puts more body weight on, it's kind of rocking a little bit, and that's also helping kind of build his confidence with stepping on something insecure, unstable, and being able to start to balance on it. Yes. Yes. He said, she's pretty cute. Yes, good job. Bowie. Yes. We're going to slightly transfer this over to the beginning stages of our bed. And I'm going to help, yes, just start to get him to step on and off of the bed as well. Come here. Bowie. Yes. And currently I'm marking right when he gets all 4 paws on. He does not have to stay. He just has to step onto it and kind of get comfortable with that motion. Yes, good job. Come on, buddy. Yes. Good job, pups. Yes. Good job. I think it'd be interesting, yes, to start to consider doing like Home Depot sessions with him, or getting him out into public where there's going to be a lot of noises, and having him being able to focus on us. So we're building his confidence to sound, sight, and smell pretty early on. So his likelihood of being really fearful of anything is starting to go away, and he's building a lot of confidence as he's developing. Yes. So sometimes things like that early on can really help in preparation for thunderstorms or fireworks and things that we can't really control.
I thought about putting on TV or something for YouTube, just thunderstorms.
Yeah.
You know, do that. And fireworks.
Yeah. I think there'll be some fireworks on Memorial Day, so.
Yeah.
Yes. And they say even next time there is a thunderstorm, like perhaps doing a little bit of a session with him when it is thundering, and giving him some food, doing something like this, so he's getting desensitized to being so focused on like the atmospheric pressure, yes, and the things going on around him, and he's like, oh, this has a positive association with it. Yes. Something I did with my puppy, I was really cognizant of her not being scared of fireworks because we live in Lakewood, and fireworks were going off all the time. So I would take her out specifically when there's a lot of fireworks going on, bring her food, and just kind of walk her around the streets. And a lot of people say, oh, keep your dogs away from the fireworks, keep them away from the things that's scary. But then they kind of never learn to be desensitized to it. Yes. All right, Mr. Confident. Yes. Come here. Yes, good job. So speaking of desensitizing him to things, I want to start to desensitize him to things that are going to be very routine, like nail trimming, brushing, bathing. Things that we can start to work on is I want to see how he responds to both nail trimming and some bathing things, so we can make sure we're golden as he's developing and it doesn't become a huge struggle. And it's okay to wait for a haircut for a year, but I would really start working and refining on some of this handling stuff. Yes, I know we did a little bit of this in our first session. Good. And again, I'm just going to start by holding the paws. Yes. Good job. Good job. Yes. Look at those tiny little puppy nails, huh? And he's far less bitey this time around than he was our first session.
Yeah, a little bit less.
And kind of introducing him to this object. I know. Good. Good job. And additionally, I should mention that I'm charging up some positive markers. So prior I was using yes. So yes meant that he did the right thing and to come get his reward. And now I'm going to use good as well. So he's starting to associate a couple of words with something positive happening. Oh, you can't steal. You got to earn those. Good. So he starts to learn that good is associated with food. Good. Next, I'm just gonna kind of maneuver his body, kind of similar to like what a vet would do. We want him to get really comfortable with touch.
He's hard to get out of the car because he doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there trying to struggle to get him out of the car.
Do you crate him in your car or is he?
Loose in the backseat.
Yeah. Once we start to work some leash pressure things with him, you'll see a lot of improvement and things like that. Hi. Yes, good boy. So far, no big deal. He's doing really well. And we like to keep these sessions a little bit short, so I am going to turn the Dremel on and kind of attempt to touch his nails, but I also don't want to create a negative experience, so if he's having a really hard time, I'm just going to wait until I can find some success with it, and then I'll back off a little bit. Our goal here is starting to have him understand that there are some things that are going to be non-negotiables, touching, nail trimming, brushing, bathing, and I want him to get comfortable with it so it feels more like cooperative care rather than we're, having to force him and restrain him. Good. I'm going to turn it on and just get him used to the noise. Good. Yes. Yeah, so I prefer grinding to clipping because clipping just makes me feel a little nervous of getting the quick. And this is just going to be a little bit easier to get the nails filed down really nicely. And it's very hard to make a dog bleed with the Dremel. Good. Good job. I said, what the heck is that thing? Good. Good job. I'm going to turn it off again. Good work. I like to keep the leash on for these handling sessions just so I can keep him in my vicinity without having to really put a lot of pressure on his collar or drag him over. Because again, I don't want anything to feel too scary or too big for him right now, because we want to develop his tolerance for these things. Good. Good. And then really short and sweet, I'm just really tapping that nail for a second, getting him used to the sensation. But this nail trim should not hurt him at all, so I'm not pushing, going really short on the nails. And our first couple of sessions of this are more focused on getting him desensitized rather than getting the nails as short as possible. Good. Good boy. And one of the core principles here is, you see I'm grabbing his paws a lot and touching them. I don't want to see a lot of restraint, or when he does restrain, I don't want to immediately let up, because I don't want him to realize all I have to do is fuss a little bit and then I get what I want. So I'm starting by like holding his paws, Dremel's on, I've touched a couple of nails, and if he begins fussing, I'm just really going to gently and patiently hold his paw until the fussing stops. Good. Good job. He said, that's no big deal. You're such a confident guy. Good. Bowie. Good job, buddy. Oh. Good. You can see a little bit of nervousness there when I grabbed his paw. It's something that we're doing that's kind of new to him, so of course we're going to expect some like, whoa, what are you doing? And a lot of the time, again, just being really patient and persistent with our goal and keeping the goals very limited here at first will help start to develop his patience for us being able to do his full set of nails. Good. Nice. And we'll end there with the Dremel. Just a good stopping point is getting some success. So I rarely want to stop with anything with handling if the dog is in active struggle mode, and I want to find just a little bit of success to stop with. So tapping his nail there, and then the task doesn't seem so daunting where we're not really pushing him past what he can take at a certain stage of development right now. Good. And we'll continue to work on these micro sessions of the Dremel throughout his training. I know you want to go see her.